Day one, this is Cricbuzz Chatter from Mohali, India versus Sri Lanka, the first test. And what a day's play we've had. India finishing 357. And for a while in between, you thought Rishabh Pant was just putting up his own show. It was like he was walking the ramp. It was like he was doing what he pleased, especially the second half of his innings. But once again, out just short of 196 of 97. So Hanuma Bihari was very impressive in his first outing at number 3 in a test match for India. All that and so much more to talk about with the dashing Dinesh Karthik. DK?
Hello, Harsha. Good evening. I think you're one of the privileged few who must have been there when Virat Kohli got his 100th test cap by the wall himself. And it was good to see his wife standing along. How was the day for you personally so far?
It was. Though before we get into play today, can I quickly ask you, is that a very fashionable tan that you're sporting, or is it just like the in thing? Because you're the fashion dude, not me.
Actually, I got to remember, as much as I enjoy being on Cricbuzz and doing chatter, I got an important tournament coming up in my life as well, which expects me to stay in the sun a little bit. I wish I was playing an indoor sport, but cricket is played outdoor most of the time, and I'm practicing and preparing for IPL. So the tan you see is thanks to that actually, and that always happens.
Right, we're going to talk about Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant, but I might as well tell you that since the IPL of 2008, Dinesh Karthik has played every single game bar one in his first season with Delhi Daredevils. Apart from that, he's played every single IPL game, and long may that continue. But today was very special. Yes, you could see that Virat Kohli was a little moved. I should imagine that. He's also, I think there's an emotional side to him, DK. You know him far better than I do. I think there is an emotional side beyond this sometimes brash, sometimes loud exterior. And I thought we saw a little bit of that when Rahul Dravid was presenting him the cap. He did say, Rahul bhai, I remember that photograph from when I was 15. And I had a look at that photograph too. But 100 tests must be fabulous, DK.
Absolutely, Asha. I think for a start, I think Virat Kohli definitely values this format of the sport ahead of any other format. That's the first statement I would want to make on Virat Kohli. I think he values it. He knows how hard it is to play Test cricket, and he has an emotional side to him for sure. I think it came out a little bit, like you said, in the morning when the small little function, albeit it being very small. I think it was very apt in a way that a man. Who has obviously been in many ways the torchbearer to playing tough cricket over a period of time with limited skill, went on to present that cap to that person who's in many ways came out as he could be a brash person off the field, but he definitely was counted as one of the most talented ever to have set foot. And if you heard Sachin speaking as well, he heard about him in 2008. In under 19 days itself, they had marked him and said, this guy is going to do something special. He went on to win the World Cup and in many ways went on to obviously do special things in Test cricket as a captain. Now that he has embarked on his journey, and it's a very interesting part of his life. This last part, can't say it last. I don't know. I just feel like this last few years for him because I think there's been so much on his shoulders, and you can see it when he came into bat. I got the feeling he was very nervous. Just the first 2-3 balls, the way he started, just chipped one. Very unlike Virat Kohli, that to chip one of a left-arm spinner, trying to play a flick to sweep a cover. That told me the man, irrespective of whatever it is a mere mortal, and all of us have feelings, emotions, and all of it came flooding to him. I think today must have been a very special day. Everybody were a bit shell-shocked when he did get out. Because we all felt, I think, at the back of our minds that something special was probably due. It could definitely happen in the second innings, but for the moment, I think he played a good knock. But in many ways, everybody feels for him that he got out at 45. If I'm right, you were on air, right, Harsha?
I'm not sure I was actually, but it doesn't matter because we were all in the situation because I mean he got 45. He just started to look good. Because initially you're absolutely right, and the fact that he was nervous, I thought in a sense was beautiful because a lot of people I don't think realize they think these athletes are these superheroes, and that the occasion can almost get to a super athlete was in itself a very telling thing. Anushka was there out in the middle. I think his first coach was there. It was a wonderful thing that his first coach had come around for this. So there was a lot of emotion around it. I was hoping he went and got a big one, because the highest score by an Indian in his 100th Test match is only 64 from VVS Lakshman. So we were hoping that he'd go past that at least. But that's the way it is. This is just an incredible game. What I found very interesting, DK, while all this was happening and the toss was happening and the teams were announced, when I don't understand pitches very well, but whoever looked at the pitch, there was a clear portion at the spinner's length and a green portion at the quick bowler's length. But when the ball was pitching on the spinner's length, it was gripping and turning. On the first day, two people got out purely to the turn, and Sri Lanka picked one spinner, India picked three. Very often, I say, when you go abroad, you look at what the visiting team, what the home team is doing. When they come to India, look what India's team is doing. So did that surprise you as well, that they went in with one specialist spinner in the very impressive Embledenia? And so you see Dhananjay De Silva and Charit Asalankai to bowl 14 overs between them.
Absolutely. I think for a start, I have a feeling Sri Lanka would be in many ways regretting the fact that they didn't play an extra spinner. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bowled 15 overs of spin so early on. They started pretty early. They realized that this wicket, is a very interesting wicket. I don't think they'll see many wickets like this. And I'll tell you why. There were about 50 people in the ground, not the spectators in terms of people related to the match, but one person would be very aware of a wicket like this, will be Ravichandran Ashwin. Because Tamil Nadu, when we play a bit like that. We try and shave away in a space very close to the batter so that the spinners will get enough. But the rest of the wicket, sometimes we just let it be so that, the wicket for a start looks decent. I mean, a lot of the time it needs to look good when umpires are coming, match referees are coming. B, the fact that, you can have your fast bowlers as well. But whenever Ashwin played, obviously Tamil Nadu as a state is dependent on its spinners. You can see from your eye line right down to where you see the 5 feet mark, you would not find much grass there. I think they'll just let the cows graze a little bit there, and the rest of it they say don't go there. So that's how it's been. So that one man for sure would have understood what the wicket was. It was clearly prepared with a certain eventful mind, so to say. I think they knew that our spinners are obviously, as the game goes on, will come in much more. And the fact that in black soil, because you need to leave a bit of grass for it to bind together and stay together. Otherwise, it breaks a bit too much, and it can be a bit of a horror show if it doesn't go well. So I feel that Sri Lanka definitely missed a spinner. I think India are probably playing one too many, but that's okay. You'd rather err that side than go one less.
You're absolutely right about the grass, because the grass is there, but it's growing on very dry surface. So if there was no grass, that area would crumble pretty quickly. So the grass actually holding the dry surface together, but it's dry. But I think Ashwin wouldn't mind, nor would Jadeja, but Jadeja is a quicker, flatter bowler, that there was a bit of bounce as well. And that bounce for the spinner would be very handy. So I was a little surprised at the way Sri Lanka picked their team. I was also surprised that they went on the defensive very quickly. In that very soon, they had, in fact, when Embledenia came on, he actually bowled his first 7 overs very well, but he had a long off and a deep point out straight away. And so the singles were pretty easily obtained, and he didn't have much support. So that much about Sri Lanka's approach. Now let's come down to the guy who just lit up this ground, man. His first 50 took 72 balls, I think. And you said, yeah, Rishabh Pant is in, because he came in at number 5. Remember, he came in ahead of Shreyas Iyer. And your first 50 took 73 balls, and thereafter he got there in 24 balls. Now tell me, you've seen him far more closely than I have. Is there just a switch that comes on, number one? And number two, how predetermined is he? Does he sometimes say, right, this ball I'm going? Because he charged the fast bowlers once, but as I said on air, I think all the left-arm spinners in the world, DK, they've formed a private WhatsApp group, and they're saying, now what do we do when this guy's batting?
Yeah, for a start, Harsha, you and I both know that he's got fabulous shots, and just like how Virat Kohli, when he came in with the name of a big talent, Rishabh Pant also announced himself at the world stage in many ways for the amount of talent he possesses. It wasn't like he set the domestic tournament on fire, but he played well in IPL. But everybody knew one thing: this guy's got talent. He's going to be there for the long run. He has something special. If at all anything, he needs to work on his keeping. His batting is going to be good enough for Indian cricket for a decade at least. That's the kind of feel he gave. Now, if you split Rishabh Pant into two parts. One, the part which is the Delhi Rishabh Pant, the brash Rishabh Pant who enjoys doing that. That will be the second half of his inning. The first half belongs to people like, the first half belongs to the media, to all the people who always said, Rishabh, come, take your time, just have a look at what the wicket is. then play your shots. And then you can see the first 73 balls taken to score 50. And that is, in many ways, is giving a tribute to all the people who speak about him and say, okay, so I'll show you what I got in terms of patience, in terms of just proper shots. And then he lets the bowlers know, hello, the Rishabh Pant has arrived that y'all don't want to see, but y'all are going to, in many ways, face. And you can see the shots that he plays. He puts a lot of pressure because, one six stands out evidently. Dhananjaya De Silva bowl, he stepped out, he missed the ball by a mile, still ended up hitting outside the ground. Now, outside in the sense, obviously, into the stands and by a distance. I mean, behind the side screen. It's a hard shot. I mean, we all know Kohli can be a little short on the straights, but to hit it that far, you need skill. And the fact that he missed the length so far out, but still ended up hitting a six, thanks to a bit of grass in the middle of the wicket, also a lot. I mean, credit to his skills, because it takes a lot to hit a ball that far when you've completely missed the length. And that's what makes it so hard to bowl to him.
And when he gets into that fourth, fifth gear, it's almost like there is no first second to come back on. It got so funny after a while that you knew he was searching for the single, because and then when he hit a ball in the deep, he ran the first run slowly because he didn't want the third. He was hungry for the strike. And I think, look, Jadeja has been around for a long time as well. He knows, look, it's this guy's day. He's playing really well. So he was playing along too. But that assault after 50 was something else. And to think that he's now in such a short career, he's got 400s, he's got 5 scores in the 90s plus that 89 not out. Is 100 such a big deal, DK? I mean, you measure at the end of a career, you measure people by runs, average. What did they do on big days? I mean, the numbers don't tell you, but the teammates and the others know. Is 100 such a big deal?
Harsha, for a start, I think differently. I believe, first part of your question, does the numbers make a difference in your head? It messes with your head. When you're batting in your 90s, it messes with your head. It is like that, it always gets to you. You're trying to take a single, or you're trying to hit a boundary. You're trying to do all sorts of things. When up to the point of 90, in many ways, you play on an auto mode and you just come in, you just see the ball, you just caress it through. There are no numbers to worry. The moment you cross somewhere around 87, 88, the moment you hit 90, the board is ticking. There is a special 3-digit number that is just around the corner, and in many ways you try and get to it too fast, or you're like, okay, let it come to you. The bigger picture today was for Rishabh Pant was to finish the 90 overs, and he knew in many ways they might not bowl the full quota of 90, but finish the 90 overs. Be the guy that will be there tomorrow morning. But it's easy to say now, but as a batter, when you're in that sort of flow, especially in the 6th and 7th gear that he was working on, in many ways he was working on rocket fuel there, I think you tend to think a little differently. You tend to like to go with the flow, and it's happened many a time. And that's why you see the greatest of players. You take the Dravids, you take the Tendulkars. That 90s messes with your head. Say whatever you want, but the 90s is in many ways a very tricky phase to get over with for any batsman. And in many ways, you're judged, after your career. For me, at least, I feel people should be judged by the tournaments that they win. I feel they should be judged by the kind of special knocks that they play. But no matter what you say, in many ways, when those stats do come up, people judge you based on that and say, hey, he's got a 40 strike rate. Even though people don't remember, but people judge you by that. And I've always felt that very interesting for a cricketer, at least. Now, Harsha, I think it's time that I put you on the hot spot.
You mean?
Yeah. If ever there is a, in many ways, let's say a problem of plenty, it's up top, openers and number 3. Today, Mayank opened, but let's just say he failed today, didn't probably make the best of his opportunity. He has a Shubman Gill in the wings. Apart from that, a KL Rahul is definitely going to come in. And then there is Hanuma Vihari, who had the first time given an opportunity to bat at 3, gets a very well-made 58. I think he'd be pretty disappointed the way he got out, but he still got a 60. And you would fancy him to get another score before the end of the series. Where do you see things, Harsha? How do you think India is going to move forward?
I was so happy for Hanuma Vihari for some of the reasons you mentioned earlier. I don't know him personally, but I think he's a wonderful team player in that whenever he's asked to do the difficult things, he's gone and done the difficult things. But all his life, he's played first-class cricket, whether for Hyderabad or for Andhra. He's played at number 3. He averages 56 at number 3. And he's never got to play in Indian conditions. He played 1 innings in India before this. So in a sense, I thought it was a very good gesture from the team to say, right, we are backing you. All I will tell you about today's innings was a couple of times the commentators called the boundary for Virat Kohli, if you listen to the commentary. And then said, oh no, actually this was Hanuma Vihari. Because he looked very much at ease. I know these were pretty good batting conditions, DK, but he looked very much at ease. he looked like he was happy to be at number three. His balls per dismissal number was 88 in the last 2 years, which means he spends a lot of time in the middle. And I mean, you cannot look too far ahead into the future. Say, how will he go in South Africa? How will he go in Australia? That's too far away. But he looked absolutely fine. What stood out? I'd like to know what stood out for you, because to me it seemed that apart from that initial period, he had the time, he had the composure, and he's very good against spin, which you have to be at whatever number you play in.
I think you've nailed it, Harsha. You spoke perfectly about it. For me personally, people might think outside's a great batting wicket, not the best of bowling conditions. But for Hanuma Vihari, the world in many ways is a hard place right now because he's playing the one format. He has to get runs at three. He knows there is limited time. Now, these are the bigger pressures. You can face a 150 mile, 150 kilometer per hour bowler or a great spinner. That is a different challenge altogether. But when what's between your ears is the hardest thing to deal with, knowing you're running in many ways against time, against the fact that people who have perceived talent always will probably get an opportunity ahead of you. You're running a different kind of race there. Those are his biggest challenges. And for him, in many ways, to shut that out, keep it in the background, and at the foreground, come and play an Embledania, to play a Fernando, and to play, Lahiru Kumara well. That is the easier battle. And I think he did a fabulous job of it. As you said, some of his shots obviously stood out. But for me, it is the mental makeup that matters. Sent to India, South Africa to be part of the A team, goes there, becomes the highest run getter. Obviously, puts in many ways a line in the sand and says, "This is what I'm doing." Comes to South Africa, just plays the one test, gets us absolute snorter from Rabada, but still, in many ways, when he gets the opportunity, gets runs in the second innings. So he has all the makings of being a quality number three, provided he's persisted with and he's given the feeling that we want you, we like you, we see what we see in you, we really like. That'll take some time, obviously some innings, but I genuinely wish he can do it, because at the Ranji Trophy level, he is one of the better batsmen going around. His average has gone down to 56, but it was upwards of 60 when he made his debut. And thanks to international cricket, it's gone down a bit, but he's a solid cricketer, and he's coming from a state where, in many ways, he's taken Andhra to a certain height by doing so well for them, not only as a batter, but more importantly as a leader. He is somebody who is aware of what happens in under 14, under 16. I have a lot of time for such people, and I genuinely wish he does something special, because he is again somebody who you can back on as a horse and say he can run a long distance. And I believe that that guy has a special skill to obviously replace who was there before. He is a like for like, if you may call it, in many ways. And I wish him all the best.
He's had a hard life. He's had a hard life. So he's used to hard situations in life, though it's different when there's a ball coming at you. But he's withstood a lot of difficult times in life to get to where he has. And unwittingly, Dinesh Karthik has just paid him a huge tribute. But how many people can you say his average has dropped to 56? For most people, 56 is wow. And he just let slip. His average dropped to 56. So there you are. Yeah, we love watching Hanuma Vihari play. And I thought, I hope this is the beginning of something very, very important. But before we let DK go today, it's time to go fast forward. This track, DK, there's a little bit of bounce, there was a little bit of turn, and I mean, some pitches, they look like they're going to do a lot, and then they just settle down like, like kids growing up and settling down into a more sober life. How do you see this one going? Obviously, you know the pitch in Mohali, but that area, when it pitches in that Ashwin area, if you can call it Jadeja area or Embledania area, it's doing a little bit. So what do you see for this game going ahead? 357 on the first day. I mean, you can't lose from there.
Yeah, obviously, if you ask me who's ahead, I think anybody will tell you India's ahead. I also feel the fast bowlers will play a bit of a role, because the ball is going to get rough, and the reverse swing is something both Shami and Bumrah utilize very well. So that is solid. At this point of time, when you do see the scorecard, you can say India is ahead, but it'll be very interesting for the Sri Lankan batting, which is used to playing on ranked turners off late, to play on a wicket probably wouldn't turn as much, probably better to bat on, to see them post a big score. When I say big score, I at least expect them to get close to 300, 320 and make a match out of it. Otherwise, you could see how this game would go. We're predicting India to get 400, 450, and then obviously bundle them out first time, and then the test match moves at a different speed. But I would like Sri Lanka to score 300, which they're capable of. They bat pretty deep up to number 7 with some known names, so to say. The Matthews is back, and all the likes of people who have done well. Charit Asanka is a new name who's going to have an interesting time. Then we have obviously the wicket keeper Dikwala. He's obviously been in the news for all the wrong reasons, but gets another opportunity in Test cricket. And Karunaratne is who they're going to be obviously dependent on. But for me, I think Sri Lanka has a chance to bat and bat well, because day 2 and day 3 will be the best batting wickets in many ways. Even though it's hard to say day 3 will be great, because I think they'll start turning, but tomorrow will be a really good day to bat. If they definitely put their head down and find a way for a start. But if after that they can find a way to obviously play Ashwin and Jadeja well, and Jayant Yadav, but obviously you would put Ashwin and Jadeja as the front runners to put pressure on Sri Lanka. There is in many ways they'll be very happy with themselves. But if you ask me honestly, the day belongs to India, and I do feel that the test match slowly but steadily going in a direction which will put Sri Lanka under a lot of pressure.
And the numbers bear out what you say. I mean, on an average, first innings scores about 330, 340. The second inning scores about 350, 360. And then it comes down to 213, 160. So the numbers are backing what you say. So well done. We look forward to catching up with you again at the end of day 2. It was an enthralling day 1 for different reasons. For Virat Kohli's 100th test, for Hanuma Vihari's appearance at number 3, and for Rishabh Pant just strutting around and saying, you know what, I like this game. All of you come and watch me. So it was a wonderful day's play. India scored at over 4 runs and over. We'll wait and see what happens on day 2. DK and Stan will be available to us, of course. So do join us at the end of day 2. This has been Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day